Good morning. Good morning. Here we are again in this very strange work. And I do not say strange to frighten you, but to tell the truth about how it feels to earnest hearts who have already tried so much. I wonder if you have noticed that the search for God sometimes feels like a proving ground, as if life were marking us with a red pencil, pass here, fail there. And the more sincere we are, the more peculiar the test seems to become. Why is that? Why would the most natural hunger in us, the hunger for God, seem to place us on a treadmill of effort, of reading, of pleading, of outlining? I am wondering, who am I kidding, how many times I have done that very thing, and in the middle of all that spiritual busyness found an emptiness that made me smile and say, there must be a simpler way. Now, I am not going to offer you a doctrine, and I am not here to take away anything sacred to you. Oh, not at all. Not at all. But I am going to pose a question that may be a key placed quietly in your hand. Is it possible that the very reaching is what keeps us from recognizing what is already present? Is it possible that the language of over there in our hearts manufactures the very distance that we then try valiantly to cross? You see, the moment I stretch, I have already, unconsciously, declared God to be somewhere else, later, higher, earned. And then my own reaching becomes the proof that I do not have. That is the oddness, the proving ground feeling. Here is the gentle shock. And it is gentle because it does not slap. And it is a shock because it undoes a habit of centuries. We do not reach God as a distant object. We awaken to God as the I am of our own being. Without strain, without theater, not with a voice raised to impress the heavens, but with a recognition so quiet that it can be missed by those who love only thunder. I am. The very awareness that is hearing these words, the life that is beating the heart, the presence that, when noticed, answers the question, where, by saying, here. This is the presence. Not a content of a thought, not a picture to be improved, but the light in which all pictures appear. Let me reassure you again before we go one step further. This is not anti-religion. And it is not anti-prayer, and it is not an invitation to passivity. Oh, not at all, not at all. We are not becoming victims of fate. We are becoming free of the superstition that God must be persuaded. We will still go to work, pay the rent, call the plumber, wave to the garbage men, thank God for them. And we will do all of it with more grace, because panic will not be our master. The only thing we are laying down is the inner posture of pleading and outlining, and we are picking up a simpler practice, recognition. So our movement together will be from strain to stillness, from thinking about God to contacting God, from treating effects to realizing cause. We will learn what it means to rise above the sea of thought long enough to feel, actually feel, the click of presence. But for this morning, let the strangeness of the search become a friendly signal. If the path has felt like a testing ground, consider that it may be testing only one assumption, that God is elsewhere. And if that assumption drops for a moment, even a thin moment, you will find not a distant goal, but the ever-present I am quietly here, already the life of your life, already the answer before the question was formed. Now let us look frankly at this reaching, because if it feels like a proving ground, there must be some mechanism in us that keeps putting the hurdle back where we just cleared it. What is reaching? When I say, I must get to God, what have I already said? I have said I as a someone here. I have said God as a something there. And I have drawn an invisible line between them, a distance to be crossed by effort, by thought, by virtue, by hours piled like lumber. Where is this there? On what map? In what part of the room? What is the distance made of? Miles, minutes, merit? And who is the one that will arrive? The very I that has just been announced as a part? You see the humor of it if you let yourself. We leave home to look for home, and then wonder why the door will not open. Now do not let this condemn your sincerity. Oh, not at all, not at all. Sincerity is beautiful, but direction matters. If my sincerity is harnessed to the belief in separation, I will sincerely reinforce separation. The more the little I stretches, the more that little I becomes the center of the drama, and the infinite is subtly turned into an object to be gotten, an attainment, a badge, a higher medal in a spiritual Olympics. Is that not so? And then the ladder appears. Rung 1, read this. Rung 2, fast that. Rung 3, say this affirmation 1,001 times. And each rung, innocent enough, becomes another way of saying, God is over there, and I am not yet. I wonder who I am kidding when I climb, and the horizon refuses to be caught. Let us be clear on this by negation, because it will save us from superstition. This does not mean we stop living. It does not mean we stop going to work, or bettering our character, or studying, or practicing our art. It doesn't mean we despise tools or methods, or the good order of a disciplined life. It means we stop using effort as a ladder to the infinite. It means we withdraw the secret superstition that these efforts purchase presence, as if we could buy express postage to the absolute. No, no. We will still sweep the floor, keep our appointments, tell the truth, and apologize. But not as tolls paid to get God to notice us. We do them because grace makes us orderly, and love makes us honest. Here is the paradox that begins to untie the knot. The harder the personal self reaches, the more it emphasizes the personal self that can never arrive. The seeker, taking himself as a separate somebody, tries to bring that somebody into union, and in the very trying, announces the disunion. The only way that one can arrive is by discovering there was nowhere to go. The moment the clutch relaxes, even a little, something changes that thought did not arrange. A quieting, a soft here-ness that was not created but noticed. We are not condemning the years of trying. We are letting the trying turn around. Not from outside acquisition, but to inward recognition. Not, how do I get there? But, what is this I that needs to go? And when that question is allowed to hang without hurry, the reaching hand finds it has been resting in its own lap all along. We are not adding a new ladder. We are setting the ladder down and seeing that the ground beneath our feet is already holy. Now we have to be very plain about the thing we are laying down and the thing we are picking up, because otherwise we trade one kind of reaching for another, and we are back on the treadmill with better shoes. What do I mean by thought? Thought encompasses everything that can be seen, heard, tasted, touched, smelled. All the parade of forms and all the parades of reaction to those forms. Thought is the memory of yesterday and the forecast of tomorrow, the opinion of the newspaper and the opinion of the one reading the newspaper. Thought is theology, psychology, science, the noble reasoning of the saint and the cleverness of the skeptic. It is the images of God that we cherish and the images we fear. Thought is the hymn lyric and the grocery list. It is the inner commentary saying good to this and bad to that. It is the sea in which most of our days are sailed, and it has waves enough to keep us occupied for lifetimes. Now, there is a critical difference, quiet but absolute, between thinking about God and contacting God. Concepts of God can be beautiful. They can calm a mood, lift an hour, send us out the door with better manners. But ideas of light are not light. A map of bread does not nourish. I can repeat a perfect definition of love and still be a very frightened person. Why? Because thought rearranges thought. It does not transcend it. We can refine our concepts to the point of poetry, and still, when the wind of circumstance blows, find ourselves blown right back into fear because we are living in the picture and not in the presence. Thinking won't make this so. To rise above the sea of thought is to arrive in divine consciousness. And divine consciousness is not a sentence. It is an awareness. Let me reassure you. This does not make thought an enemy. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We will go on using thought to tie our shoes and to add 2 and 2 and to schedule the dentist. Thought has its right function. The foundation I am pointing to is not the destruction of mental activity. It is the discovery that mental activity is not God contact. The criterion is not belief, and it is not an emotion, however sweet. It is an actual awareness, an actual feeling of God's presence. Sometimes it comes like the smallest click, a softness in the chest, a loosening in the brow, a sense that the room is quietly larger than the room. Sometimes it is only the subsiding of hurry, but there is an unmistakable here-ness to it, a certainty that does not argue and does not need to be argued for. That presence is the insurance, not the sentence about it. How, then, do we live? We are learning to rise above the sea of thought, not to become blank, but to become aware. Not a trance, not hypnosis, not the white-knuckled holding of the mind to a word. We let the waves be waves, and we rest attention just behind them, just above them, as if a sun had lifted and the churning no longer touched the depth of us. We are learning to rise above the sea of thought, not to become blank, but to become aware. We turn quietly within. We do not demand. We do not outline. We wait, gently, until the click appears, even faintly. And then we go about our affairs, carrying that awareness as one carries a lamp, not to show off the lamp, but to see. Freedom does not come because we have improved our thoughts about presence. Freedom comes because we are aware of presence. Where there is that contact, the sea can roll and the boat can move. But the sailor is not at the mercy of weather, for the compass is true. If that is so, that freedom rests not in better thoughts about God, but in awareness of God, then we must let our understanding of prayer come into line with it. What have we been doing when we pray? Very often, if we are honest, we have been drafting letters to a distant office, outlining a case, asking a power to come down and do something about our affairs. And I am not mocking our sincerity. Oh, not at all. Not at all. I am only asking, when I say, God, do this for me, have I not already split the room in two? God there, me here, a sender and a receiver. And if I keep that picture, is it any wonder that I keep the distance? Let us try a homely picture. You cannot telephone the sun and bargain for a little extra warmth on your front steps. You cannot plead with it to tan only your left arm. The sun is what it is, and its qualities are not doled out by favor. What can you do? You can come into the sunshine. You can step out from the shade. And then, without speeches, without begging, warmth is present. Light is present. A tan, if you like, is present. not as prizes, not as bribes, but as the natural accompaniment of the sun itself. Do you see? It would be a very odd thing to stand in the dark corner and shout for sunlight. The sensible thing is to move. Translate that to prayer. True prayer is the movement of attention out of the shade of separation into the presence that already is. Seek me only. Seek the sun, and the light attends. Seek the presence, and peace attends. Guidance attends. Supply attends, as function attends substance. The prayer now becomes the realization that where God is, I am. Not later, not if, not when a condition is met. Here. Where God is, I am. And I am is not this anxious personality begging. I am is the very life of me, spirit recognizing itself. Now, this does not mean that you may not say, help, in human language when your heart is pressed. Oh, not at all. Not at all. Let the lips say what they must to quiet the nerves, but let the inner aim be corrected. We do not try to instruct God or influence God as if infinite wisdom were waiting for my very clever outline. We turn, without demand, without bargaining, and we rest a moment until the click appears, even faintly. And in that recognition, the need is met in the only way it can be truly met, from the source. Thinking won't make this so. Bargaining won't make this so. Awareness alone reveals what already is. So when trouble barks, when the phone rings with news that sets the stomach tight, do not stand in the shadow yelling for sun. Be still a minute. Turn. Father, thou art here. Where God is, I am. Not as a sentence to change something, but as the stopping of the inner running so that presence may be noticed. And then go about your affairs, not watching the clock to see if the prayer has worked, but carrying the lamp to see. Effects will take care of themselves because cause is present, and prayer has returned to its one business, realization. Seek me only. Seek me only. And all these things, whatever form they must rightly take, will be found standing quietly where you are, because you are in the light. Now let us say the gentle shock as plainly as we can, and then allow it to rest in you. You do not reach God as an object outside. You realize God as the I am within. If God is omnipresent, where could God be absent? If absent nowhere, where would you go to find? If infinite presence fills all that is, can you step out of it to search for it? In what corridor? On which street corner of consciousness? You see, the very picture of distance is a trick of the personal mind. It imagines a traveler and a destination, and then invites itself on a pilgrimage to meet a God it has just placed beyond its own breath. Let me be careful now, because this is where the ego is tempted to steal a crown it did not forge. I am God, it might say, puffing out like a rooster. Oh, not at all, not at all. We are not inviting personal self-importance. We are pointing to the impersonal I am, the pure sense of being that is here before a name, before a resume, before a story. Feel a moment what it is to be, without adding anything to it. Before I am a parent, I am a carpenter, I am anxious, or I am spiritual, there is simply I am. Quiet, unadorned, self-knowing being. That I am is the doorway and the content of realization. It is not a thought. It is the fact of presence noticing itself where you thought a separate person stood. Now the not this must do its clearing work, or confusion will have a holiday. It doesn't mean you, the person, have become a deity with powers to parade. It doesn't mean your opinions are now revelation, your impulses inspiration, your plans divine decrees. It doesn't mean you will never stub a toe or that weather will ask your permission. No, it means the personal sense yields, relaxes its claim to be the doer, the owner, the originator, and in that yielding, the life that has always been your life is recognized as divine selfhood. The same sun that was shining shines, but the shade of me and God has thinned, and the light is felt. Tie it back now to our problem of reaching. Reaching is the activity of the little I, building ladders to a sky that was never out of reach. Realization is the surrender of that inner distance. It is the stopping, even for a breath, of the assumption that I am here and God is there. And in that stopping, often so soft you could miss it if you love only fireworks, there is the click, the awareness, the I am. From that center, thought becomes a servant, prayer becomes recognition, and action flows without the pressure of self-appointment. So the paradox stands and blesses us. You cannot get to what you are. You cannot acquire what constitutes your very being. You can only notice, acknowledge, yield. Seek me only, yes, but seek not as a hunter of objects. Seek as one who turns to the light and discovers it has been quietly turning you all along. Where God is, I am, and that is here. Be still a minute. Let that be so. If we had a tumbler here, there is one somewhere in this room, or a coffee cup will do. Let us hold it up in imagination and ask a very foolish, very useful question. Where does the inside leave off and the outside begin? Is there a line, a seam, a border? Is there an inside tumbler and an outside tumbler, two things glued together? Or is there a tumbler and the words inside and outside are only conveniences for speaking about function? If you take your finger and trace the rim, does it cross from one substance to another? Or does it slide over one thing, seamless? There is but glass. The curves and the names, inner, outer, help us place water or keep dust out, but they do not divide the substance into twos. There is but glass. Now that little piece of prop logic is not just for the kitchen. It is the map of our life. Where does God leave off, and where do you begin? Is there an invisible deity over there and a visible creature over here, fastened together by faith or morals? Or is there one life, one being, appearing to itself in two functions, the invisible source and the visible expression? God is our invisible selfhood. We are the externalized form. We are not two in essence, we are only two in function. Just as the tumbler is not two substances, one for the inside and one for the outside, so God and man are not two selves. There is but God, being itself as source and as form, as the unseeable life and the seeable expression. Do you feel how this heals the sense of exile? You are not a body trying to climb into spirit. You are spirit expressing as form. You are not a little mind hoping that a big mind will lend you a thought. The mind is appearing as your capacity to be, to know, to love. The moment this is seen, not as a sentence to win an argument, but as a quiet click within, the frantic project of crossing a distance collapses, because the distance never existed. Inside/outside were names on the same glass. I must reach God becomes I recognize I am. And then the body is cared for, the mind is clear, the scene is addressed, but without the posture of a beggar at a locked door. The door was never a door. It was the rim of the same tumbler. Let me prevent at once the mistake that has shipwrecked many good hearts. This is not a denial of the human scene. Oh, not at all. Not at all. It does not mean we despise bodies, or ignore bills, or refuse a doctor, or stop calling the plumber when pipes speak in tongues. It doesn't mean we drift into a fog and call it spirituality. It means we deny the claim that the scene is separate, self-originating, self-sustaining. It means we withdraw the superstition that there is a me here, propping up life with effort, and a God there deciding whether to help. Life lives itself as you. The sun does not request its own radiance. Radiance is its nature. So too, you do not pump divinity into yourself. Divinity is your nature as I am. And that I am appears as intelligence, as right action, as the daily bread. Bring it to the innermost place. The deepest I in you is not a possession. My I, my being, as if you owned existence like a pair of shoes. That I is God's I, the universal I am, recognizing itself where you had named a separate person. Before adjectives, before roles, there is simply I am. One substance, two functions, source and expression. When this is seen, you stop trying to cross a distance that never existed, and you begin to live from presence rather than toward it. Then prayer is recognition, action is response, and the old inside/outside quarrel goes out with yesterday's papers. There is but glass. There is but God, and you are the transparency through which it knows its own light. Be very still a moment, and let that be so. Now if there is but glass, if there is but God as source and expression, what then is left to block the light? Only this, the habit of I, me, mine. Not a villain, mind you, a veil. Not a monster to be slain, but a habit of identity that keeps standing in front of the window and calling the shade reality. And please do not hear me as inviting self-hatred or self-negation in a human sense. Oh, not at all. Not at all. This is not about despising your personality or pretending you don't have a name at the DMV. It is about seeing through a habit that claims doership and ownership, and thereby shrinks infinity to personal capacity. Listen to the rhythm of truth, and let it clear a space within. There is no my supply, no my wisdom, no my strength, no my life to maintain, no my health to protect, no my love to generate. There is but God, supply appearing as sufficiency, wisdom appearing as right ideas, strength appearing as effortless action, life appearing as you alive, wholeness appearing as resiliency, love appearing as the tenderness that does not run out. The moment I say my, I confine the flow to the size of a cup I have imagined. My wisdom must then be limited to what I have read, to the schooling I paid for, to the neurons I judge adequate. My strength must answer to calories and hours of sleep. My supply must come from a paycheck and the markets behaving nicely. But when qualities are recognized as God's own being, one substance shining as many functions, they are no longer rationed by my history, They are as present and as unlabored as sunlight when I step from the shade. Do you see the paradox working for us? The less the personal I claims to be the owner and the doer, the more freely the qualities of the I am appear. Deny thyself, yes, but not as a punishment, as a liberation. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth my life, is not poetry for funerals. It is a daily description of how the veil thins when the owner steps aside. Let us have a little discipline to make this more than a pleasant thought. For the next 7 days, become a quiet scientist of speech and feeling. Notice how many times the word I rushes forward to take credit, to take blame, to take possession. Don't whip it. Smile at it. You will find, before breakfast, that you have said I enough to staff a small parade. Good. Now we are awake. Gently, where you can, shift the sentence. Instead of, I figured it out, let it be, thank you, Father, the idea was given. Instead of, I must get through this day, let it be, presence goes before me. Instead of, I healed, let it be, wholeness revealed itself. And if the tongue trips and the old way flies out, oh, not at all, not at all. Laugh. You need a sense of humor in this work, or the ego will borrow even your seriousness and make a religion of strain. Do not mistake this for repression. It is revelation. By catching the reflex of I, me, mine, you merely give yourself the chance to feel, in real time, how often the ego inserts itself as author and owner, and how unnecessary that authorship is. Little by little, the clutch relaxes. The shoulders drop. A click appears that thinking did not arrange. Action still happens, meetings, meals, mending a torn sleeve, but the pressure to be the engine eases, and grace proves itself as movement without a self-appointed mover. The only barrier to realization is the claim of a separate owner. Let it soften. Die daily to that claim, not as an act of heroism, but as a natural exhale. Where the personal I relaxes, the I am is felt as the life that has been living you all along. Then wisdom is not squeezed from a forehead, it dawns. Strength is not wrestled up, it is present. Supply is not chased, it functions. And prayer? Prayer is no longer a person petitioning power, but presence recognizing itself and flowing as you, without boast and without lack. Be very still a moment. Father, Thou art the life here. Where God is, I am. Let that do the living, and let the doer rest. Now, with the doer resting even a little, we can look at the parade that keeps tugging on our sleeve, the effects, the trinkets, the prizes. And let's use a word that helps us keep our humor. Bubbles. It has a funny sound. Roll it around inside your mouth. Bubbles. By bubbles, I mean anything to which we attach undue importance. Status, money, a particular outcome on Thursday at 2, a reputation we are polishing like silver, even spiritual fireworks, the goosebumps and the halos that we hope might show up when we sit very straight. A bubble is not evil. It is just something we have put on a little throne and bowed to, and then wondered why our neck is sore. Here is the paradox, as plain as we can make it. The way to have the rightful use of life's forms is to give up the bondage of needing them. The more a thing is needed to complete me, the more it masters me. The less it is needed, the more it can take its rightful place, as a tool in a hand rather than a chain on a wrist. Seek me only, and effects attend as warmth attends the sun. Chase warmth as a project, and you will stand in a dark corner rubbing your arms and inventing prayers about thermometers. Bring yourself into the sunshine, and warmth is present without bargaining. Bring attention into presence, and peace, guidance, and provision appear in their season. Not as trophies, not as wages, but as the natural function of Source being Source. Now do not for a moment hear asceticism in this. Oh, not at all, not at all. This is not a call to neglect or to poverty as virtue. It doesn't mean we despise money, or refuse good tools, or pretend we do not care if our children are safe, or turn up our noses at beauty, art, or an honest day's success. It doesn't mean we throw away medicine or abandon common sense. It means we stop worshiping effects. We stop trying to prop up life with outcomes. We withdraw the superstition that if we can just juggle the pieces cleverly enough, we will force wholeness to appear. Wholeness is the substance. The pieces are its play. Notice how effects chasing is the twin of reaching for God. In both, the little eye runs outward after something it has declared to be over there. A promotion over there. Approval over there. Enlightenment over there. The very grasp invents the distance. The very hunt proves the lack. And so we build ladders to the sky, and after much sweating, discover the horizon has remained perfectly where it was, imagined. Turn instead, quietly. Father, thou art here. Let the click appear, however faintly, and then pick up the phone, write the email, do the errand, but without the inner beggar at a locked door. The door was never a door. Take a small, practical token. Carry the word bubble with you. When grasping rises, over an email that must be answered your way, over a face you hope will like you, over a mystical tingle you hope will repeat, smile and say inwardly, "That's a bubble." Do not scold it. Label it, and in that moment, turn from the picture to the presence. Seek me only. Where God is, I am. Wait a breath for the quiet click. Then act from that center. You will find that decisions are clearer, relationships gentler, supply saner. Not because you won something at the carnival, but because you returned to the source and let effects fall into rank. Release the demand for effects, and you regain mastery, because you are no longer their servant. You are resting in the One, and life's forms take their rightful place. Not idols, not enemies, but instruments through which the I Am plays its unlabored song. Now let us bring this all the way home. Because if this does not walk with us to the market and to the office and to the kitchen table, it will remain a fine cloud and not a living sky. What is this click in practice? Not fireworks, not a choir breaking in from the ceiling. It is a small shift of center, like a gear slipping into its rightful notch. The breath loosens, the forehead softens. The mind stops running drafts of speeches. There is a quiet assurance, not about outcomes, but about being. A sense, however gentle, that God is on the field, and where God is, I am. It is not thinking. You will know because thoughts may still parade, but you are not marching with them. You are above the sea of thought, and presence is felt, not reasoned. Out of that, decisions cease to be wrestling matches with the future. You will notice that you do not keep asking, what if, so much. The inner hand is steadier on the tiller. You take the next right step because it is given. Sometimes it surprises your plans. An email you were eager to send is not sent. A delay appears and proves wise. A yes arises where you were preparing a no. Not dramatic, but unmistakably saner. And you smile, because you did not make a cleverer outline. You waited until the click and then moved, and the movement bore its own confirmation. Relationships soften because otherness softens. The accusation in the heart loses voltage. The one across the desk, across the dinner table, across the street, is no longer an outside life colliding with yours. Oneness is recognized in function. The heat goes out of certain arguments without a speech being made. A word that was on the tongue falls away, and a kinder word presents itself, and you are spared a week of cleanup. Sometimes, do not make a religion of this, but notice it. Across town, an old resentment loosens without your phone call. Or a son who had not phoned feels to phone. Or a neighbor who never waved, waves. That is not your personal magnetism. That is the nature of one glass recognized where you had once named two. Supply appears as right activity rather than frantic acquisition. Ideas come in proper sequence. The work finds its worker, and the worker finds the work. A tool is borrowed at the needed hour. A bill that seemed tight meets an avenue that was invisible while you were hurrying. I have seen men sober as if a wind changed direction, not because we harangued them, but because somewhere, quietly, recognition took place, and the pressure of I, me, mine lifted, and the universal love that is God's own being touched them. A woman wrote once to say, "I do not know how it happened, but the fear that sat in my chest walked out, and then the conversation I dreaded became simple." That is not magic. That is order returning as presence is realized. Make it practical. The mind runs outward to fix. Fine, that is its habit. Catch it. Label the bubble if you must. Then turn. Father, thou art here. Seek me only. Wait the breath for the click. Presence first, details second. Do not check your watch to see if God has performed. Move with the assurance you did not generate. The proof of realization is not performance. It is this quiet reordering, the easing of hurry, the clarity in choice, the gentling of speech, the sufficiency that attends its own source. Let us live from that, and let the day show you what happens when the doer rests and the I am conducts its own affairs. Let us make this so plain and so simple that the mind cannot complicate it. Never begin the day and never end the day without turning within for conscious contact. No agenda, no shopping list. One thing: seek me only. Before the feet touch the floor, be still a minute. Let the first movement of the day be inward, not outward. We are not rushing to read a horoscope of events. We are acknowledging, I am. Father, thou art here. Where God is, I am. Then wait, not with tightness, not with stopwatch, but wait for the faint stirring, the little click, the loosening of the forehead, the sense that presence is on the field. Even a whisper of it will do. That awareness is the day's foundation. Forms will take their right place upon it. Now the mind will attempt a familiar trick. It will try to use the prayer as a lever to pry open outcomes. While I'm here, perhaps I can arrange Thursday. Gently refuse. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We are not managing the scene, we are recognizing the source. Turn back from pictures to presence. If 5 thoughts about the day rise up, let them pass like boats on a river. You are not their captain. Rest until you are above the sea of thought, even by an inch, and then dress, pour the coffee, answer what the hour brings, but from the center, not from the chase. At day's end, return the instruments to their case. Lay the day down where you found it, in presence. We are not reviewing sins and triumphs with red pencil. We are not rehearsing tomorrow's battle. Sit on the edge of the bed or stand at the kitchen sink while the last plate dries, or lean against the bus window and close the eyes lightly. Thank you, Father. Thou art the life lived here. Where God is, I am. Let thought settle. If gratitude arises, let it be simple and unforced. If there were tangles, don't outline solutions. Release them to the light you have acknowledged. Sleep as one kept, not as one keeping watch alone. Do not make a contest of this. Awareness comes by degrees. Some mornings the sky is crystal. Some evenings are cloudier. Good, truth does not depend on weather. The work is not intensity. The work is consistency. A minute or two, faithfully, gently, without strain, without trying to feel holy. If you seem to miss a morning, do not dramatize. Tuck yourself back in at noon. Smile. You need a sense of humor for this, or you will invent a new bubble called perfect practice and worship it. And please, keep it human. This can be done in kitchens, with the coffee maker burping, in offices before the first email opens, in buses with a strap in your hand, in a quiet corner while the soup cools. God is not further away because there is a dog barking. Presence is the substance. The noise is the costume. Make the day's foundation recognition of presence, and life's forms take their right place. Tools in the hand of I am, not masters of your peace. Seek me only. Seek me only. Then walk in the assurance you did not manufacture, and let the day reveal the one conducting its own affairs. Let us gather this in one breath, and then we will be still a few minutes. The seeker, with all that reaching, created the very distance he tried to cross. Rising above the sea of thought, we discovered presence not as a concept, but as an awareness. Prayer ceased to be petition and became realization. Where God is, I am. The I am was found within. The personal doer relaxed, and effects took their rightful place as the natural outflow of source. That is the circle. From reaching to recognizing. From over there to here I am. And if you feel a little pressure now to make something happen, to have a moment, let me lift it right off you. Oh, not at all, not at all. There is no performance in this. There is no timer on God. There is only the willingness, this minute, to stop pushing at the horizon and to notice what does not move. Presence. Even a whisper of it is enough, because the power is not in the size of your feeling. The power is in what is felt. Let us be still a few minutes. Set down the day as you would set down a heavy bag at your feet. We are not fixing it. We are not itemizing it. Let pictures float by, faces, tasks, the email you meant to send. Let them pass as boats on the river. You are not their captain. Let the breath do as it pleases. You are not managing the breath. You are noticing the simple fact of being. Before a name, before a role, before a plan, just this, I am. Do not add a word to it. Do not gild it with adjectives. Rest as that. If a thought comes to measure it, smile and let it go by. If a feeling wants to be loud or quiet, let it. The presence is not in the volume. It is in the fact. I am. Now, a soft recognition. Father, thou art here. Where God is, I am. Not to get, not to move the furniture of life an inch, but to acknowledge the room in which life already stands. One breath more in that, resting, unreasoned, unarranged. And when you open your eyes, let this become the atmosphere you return to, and return to, until it is the normal weather of consciousness. Not in strain, not in heroics. A dozen small turnings through the day. Seek me only. And the click steadies. Decisions simplify. Words gentle. Supply finds its lines. You will discover, almost shyly, that what you were seeking has been seeking you. Because it has been you, your very being, as I am, living here all along. Be still and know. Then go about the hour with the assurance you did not invent, and let the One conduct its own affairs as you.